morning, Isabel Berry here with you to continue our webinar series covering a range of topics around STEAM systems. I head up marketing for Pulse Industrial. Pulse has developed a groundbreaking artificial intelligence platform for our IoT products that provides advanced accuracy in both diagnostics and reporting for steam trap monitoring. Now, just a little housekeeping point. This is going to be a packed agenda today, but we are very open to questions. To keep on track, though, if you can just put them in the chat, we'll answer them at the end. And with me today is Ashley Dijon, Director of our Customer Success team, and he's going to walk us through the entire failure detection and profiling process. Ashley, would you please introduce yourself?
Thanks, Isabel. As mentioned, I head up the Customer Success team here at Pulse. My team works with our account executives, installation team, operations department, and technical support to ensure that every customer that joins us has a complete understanding of every step along the way of implementing and optimizing the system. We get involved as soon as the purchase occurs and manage the entire customer journey with us to ensure a great customer experience all around. The customer journey with us also includes a quick get started call to either book dates to get the installation done or to get a date to have the virtual installation training online. Dashboard training. This is completed once your sensors have been installed and uploaded to the dashboard, and this will give you a brief overview of how the dashboard works and how to optimize it at its full potential. A post-installation report. This is generated 30 days from the installation. This really gets into the nuts and bolts of the data and understanding how your STEAM system works. And then finally, monthly check-ins or webinars, just to keep you engaged with us here at Pulse, because we know everyone is busy and usually, what goes out of sight goes out of mind.
Perfect. Thanks, Ashley. And today I'm really looking forward to having you walk us through the process of profiling steam trap failures using Pulse technology.
Absolutely. What we tend to find is that people we work with, maintenance managers, engineers, and so on, often pulled in many different directions with a lot of responsibility throughout the facility. With deadlines needing to be met, with less staff, and a system often needing to run as close to 100% uptime as possible, day-to-day tasks become more challenging, and time management becomes a crucial part in running a successful department. Now, take into account that equipment is also at varying stages of its life cycles, with difficulty to access certain parts of the facility makes for a very difficult job, and we understand that. And that's why we feel we can help make things easier and give you time back with Pulse Steam Trap remote monitoring.
So what's the tipping point usually in organizations deciding to implement steam trap monitoring?
It tends to vary from person to person, or should I rather say organization to organization. What we see is an average of 8 to 15% of steam traps failing every year. Chances are at any point in time, there will be multiple steam trap failures occurring, and it will become harder to locate where they are within the facility. We do know that failures put additional stress and strain on the rest of the steam system, including the boiler, which could potentially be reducing their lifespan and will require a major system shutdown to repair, if not maintained diligently. If the system is not delivering adequate amounts of pressure to processes, it could also lead to product quality being impacted. Then once we start crushing the numbers, such as calculating the cost of lost steam, natural gas, energy, and potential carbon emission fines, it usually results in not only a decision to go forward with Pulse steam trap monitors, but an urgency to do it right away.
Thanks for the background, Ashley. Now let's get into the topic for today. It would be great to really understand the process of failure detection. I think sometimes there is trepidation about how difficult and time-consuming the technology is to install, plus confusion around the role of artificial intelligence in failure detection. So can you get into a bit of that?
Yes, for sure. So just to start, I can summarize the installation process. The sensors can be installed with no interruption of the steam system. Each sensor is about the size and weight of a cell phone and is attached to the steam line at 2 points, one above the steam inlet and one below on the condensate outlet. It is attached with hose clamps, so can be attached on any size pipe and within just a couple of minutes. As we install the sensor, we need to ensure that the steam trap is audited and working correctly. Then we install a gateway, which is plugged into the AC outlet somewhere in the vicinity, and as soon as the sensor is attached, it will automatically connect to the gateway via LoRaWAN. So that is a separate and absolutely secure network involving intense encryption protocols and starts sending data via Amazon Web Services, which also is industry-leading cyber security to the analytics engine. Our analyst team, which combs through all the data and sends out alerts when a failure is confirmed. Examples of companies using Amazon Web Services include Disney, Netflix, Pfizer, and Airbnb.
Big players. Now, we do have an install team that is included in the purchase price that goes out to do the initial setup to ensure that all components are installed correctly and are functioning normally. Can you describe how the artificial intelligence engine enhances failure detection?
Yes, so let's get into the actual failure detection side of things. So there are 3 data point readings collected per trap every 30 minutes. Temperature on the steam side of the trap and temperature below the steam trap on the condensate line, and sound acoustic readings. Each steam trap has its own baseline determined by a manual audit during the installation process. We see a lot of deviation from steam trap to steam trap. One of the keys to the Pulse solution versus other steam trap monitoring solutions, as well as manual testing, is the machine learning that goes on over time. We are also the most cost-effective solution on the market today and the most accurate. So no other competitor uses 3 data points when monitoring steam traps. Some only use temperature or only sound. We see a lot of variations in failure signatures. Some failures show no significant change in sound readings. Some show inverted temperature fluctuations or fairly small temperature changes, especially in very low or very high pressure systems. The artificial intelligence-enabled analytics tracks a trap's behavior over time. Essentially, there is an artificial intelligence engine for every trap. We record data from a trap over a period of time, and we are able to feed that information back into the artificial intelligence system so that it can learn from itself, which increases accuracy. Some facility steam system is more active within certain parts of the day or run on time cycles. Example, we have a brewery customer that has kettles that run 2 hours on and 2 hours off. The artificial intelligence system learns its baseline behavior and is able to trigger an alert outside of that as well when there is a change in data on the trap. The artificial intelligence is able to look at other traps in the facility as well. So it looks at traps that are in a neighboring capacity and identify that there could be a potential change to the entire system, like a steam site shutdown.
You can see why the use of AI, artificial intelligence, is crucial. I can't imagine doing all of that manually. I mean, if the traps all have their own unique behavior, how would you keep track of it all to be able to interpret the data? It's not like other sensors, more simplistic sensors, that will let you know if a light is on or off. With steam, you have many factors to consider as well. Plus, with a steam trap attached to every process that is steam powered, there are quite a few traps can be in a location.
Absolutely. We have locations that have thousands of traps. A manual trap audit is in reality just a brief window in time of the steam trap operating. It's very challenging for even the most experienced technician to assess the health of all traps accurately. In fact, the error rate in human inspection has been shown to be up to 40%. Now, take into account the fact that when a technician is auditing traps, he is often doing the entire site, so hundreds or thousands of traps, listening and taking readings. That doesn't even take into account the fact that a trap could fail shortly after manual inspection has taken place and then go unnoticed till the next audit, which could be as far as 12 months into the future if done annually. So some things for us to think about going forward. What does it look like over a 12-month period when a trap fails tomorrow and won't get caught till the next audit is complete? At Pulse, we take 1,460 data point readings per trap over a 12-month period versus one manual audit, which is just looking at the trap for a 4-minute period. We work with facilities ranging from 100 right up to 40,000 steam traps. Now, if we had to take a conservative 10% failure rate at a facility with 50,000 steam traps at 100 PSI, we are looking at 50 failed steam traps annually. Assuming on average of 6 months per failure, you would still have about $52,000 in energy loss, including 369 tons of CO2 produced needlessly. That's why having the ability to monitor traps 24/7, we always have access to data, catching failures in real time, not months down the line.
Yeah, those are some scary numbers for sure. So I'd like to get into some details around what exactly happens when a sensor detects errors. Can you explain how exactly the different alerts get generated?
Yes, so what happens is a variation is detected by the sensors. It then goes to the artificial intelligence engine, which evaluates and sends an alert to the Pulse data analytic team, who review the history, the current deviation, and determine whether or not the trap is actually failed. At which point the system then sends the information directly to the customer via email or text message. This is actually the key piece of the Pulse solution. We have a team of data scientists that spent years designing and perfecting the artificial intelligence algorithm to be able to assess the enormous amounts of data that are produced by the sensors in the field.
So what is the expectation of a customer when a failure alert is received?
Once a customer receives a failure notification, it'll direct them to the Pulse View dashboard to see the failed trap data and hit the acknowledge button function on the dashboard that they have received and seen the failure notification. If they do not acknowledge the failure within a period of time, they'll be followed up with our internal CS team.
And then what are the next steps for the customer?
They would usually complete a manual audit of the trap to confirm that there aren't any outside factors that have triggered an alarm and it is a confirmed failure. Once it is confirmed, a repair or replacement of the trap will be needed. Once the trap is functional and up and running again, the customer would then go back to the dashboard and hit the resolve button function to inform our team to resume monitoring of the new trap.
Can we take a quick moment and have a look at the dashboard itself?
Absolutely. So moving on to the Pulse View dashboard itself, as you can see, it has a very clear user interface, which shows the 3 different alert functions in different colors. On the dashboard, when we populate the sensor details, you'll have the ability to separate the sensors into different buildings and areas, which you can also divide your team's responsibility level to only look after certain sensors in specific buildings or levels of the facility. You'll also have the ability to filter through the sensors based on location, pressure, state as well. This is a very general overview of the dashboard. You can also get into the weeds of looking into the data of each trap specifically. If anyone would like to have a more depth demo of the dashboard functionality, we do offer lunch and learns for yourself and your team.
Now, we haven't really touched on the API integration today and how customers can use that to make the process run more smoothly. Can you discuss that briefly?
Yes, another time saver is the use of the Pulse API. Some customers choose to use our specifically designed API to integrate with their IoT platform and building management system. Let's just look at a typical scenario we see. An organization does a manual audit and finds a failed trap. At that point, they need to create a work order to order a new trap, schedule system downtime, schedule a team and a crew to do the trap swap, notify all departments of the service interruption. In the case of our Pulse Alert, however, they can use our API to interface the alert to automatically create the work order, saving a lot of time and annoyance.
Wow, okay, that's a lot of information. Thank you so much, Ashley. Can you summarize what you think are the most important points that people should take from today's webinar?
Of course, the points I really want to emphasize are, number one, the more data you have about the steam traps, the more accurate the failure detection system will work for you. Number two, monitoring system steam traps is much more complicated than you think. Every failure is different. Three, Pulse technology makes it easy to monitor the health of your steam system, including traps. Four, catching steam trap failures right away will allow you to save money, reduce downtime, and increase productivity.
Great. Now we do have some questions in the chat, and we do have a couple minutes set aside. So can we jump to these?
Yep, let's do it.
Excellent. Okay, so Isabel Berry here with you to continue. We have a question in the chat, Ashley. How will a client know if a gateway is not working?
So there's one of two ways in which a customer would know whether the gateway is working or not. One, we can set up a system email coming directly from our dashboard saying that a gateway is offline. Second point to that would be that we have a customer success team that works and looks at the sensors and gateways and how things operate on a day-to-day basis. So we would let you know as soon as it does go offline through email or a call.
Perfect. Thanks, Ashley. And we have another question here. What about automated supply of repair parts? Do we have any options for that?
Covering automated supply of repair parts. So we don't have many moving parts of the sensor that do get damaged that we replace individual parts on. If a sensor is broken and deemed not to be operational, we would look at obviously what that warranty looks like and would replace that if there's something that is, I meant trap repair parts. We don't stock spare parts of our traps. That is something, sorry Dave, something like that would have to work through your service provider of the actual steam traps itself. We don't work within anything directly of the actual steam trap. We have partnered with some manufacturers like Spirax Sarco, for example. And they'll be able to work with you to get those spare parts for those specific traps. Sorry, jumped all over there on that one.
No, that's good. It's an interesting topic for sure. Now, question here from Dan. Does Pulse provide any guidance as to why a trap might have failed, wrong type of trap, etc.? Not simply that it has failed, hopefully to prevent repeated failure.
Yes, absolutely. We do supply reasoning why we saw that particular trap failing, whether it was a deviation in temperature system, which, there's a change in data from a steam shutdown to it coming back online as well. What we have seen as well is over the period of the last couple of years as well, is when you see potentially traps that are consistently failing, that's more so looking at the system as a whole with why does this particular trap failing? Is it a wrong size trap for the system, and can it manage the load effectively? So to answer the question, yes, we provide guidance.
Yeah, because I guess, there are a lot of different types of traps and sizes of traps, and just to sort of jump in a little bit extra, we work closely with Spirax to make those type of recommendations for customers as well, right?
Correct.
And then another question here, you say from Brian, you say you use AI. Is AI machine learning process? Is machine learning part of this? I think of prompts as generative AI. And then another question, we'll get to that in just a second. So how about the first one, Ashley?
Sorry, I'm just playing catch up here. You say AI is RA. I assume that's AR, is a machine learning process.
That's what I assumed too.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you say AI is a machine learning process. So like I mentioned, every trap is set up with on its own specific engine. So we're learning from each particular trap, obviously the different kinds of steam traps, the different pressures, the different systems that they use. The the machine is learning from itself on a regenerative system. So as a trap is learning certain behaviors, we're feeding that information back through the machine learning so that it can become more accurate over a period of time.
Yeah, and that's really the one of the cruxes of today's webinar is to talk about how the historical data it plays into the increase in accuracy in failure detection over time. And then Brian also has a question. How does the survey and installation process work at a facility?
So when we come on site to do the installation, depending on whether we're doing a pilot or a phase one on site, usually when you're looking at a pilot, the customer will dictate which 10 traps that they want to manage, and usually it's in the same room within a close by range. If it is a phase one, when we start looking to roll out to a facility for a phase one, we ask for the most recent steam trap audit, and then we look at the most critical traps that we would feel would get the best return on investment for the customer. When we then come on site, obviously we earmark those traps. We work with the customer to say, okay, does this make sense? Customer gives us the thumbs up, we're good to go. We then come to those particular traps. Let's say if it's 20, 30, 40 traps or whatever it is, we complete a manual audit on site. So manual audit tells us, yes, this trap is working. And then we do the installation of the sensor onto the trap. Because if a trap is failed and we're installing our sensor onto the trap, there will never be a fluctuation in any sort of data. The temperature or the sound, for that matter, would stay the same. So that's why having that original baseline of how a trap behaves at the start will tell us if there is a failure. You'll be able to see the change. I know Tyler, who is our customer success manager, he does 30-day post-installation reports. So, that's, again, at that moment of installation, it's a very short snapshot of how that trap's behaving or what it looks like. At that 30-day post-installation, you look at it over a period of 30 days and understanding how the data works with the system.
Yes, thank you very much, Ashley. That I think explains it really well. And Dan has a question. Do you work with any continuous commissioning vendors to integrate? Having yet another dashboard is going to be a tough sell to our teams. We hear this question a lot.
Yeah, so we don't work with any other commissioning vendors, but with our API, we work through Presta API, and that can be integrated a lot into the different commissioning vendors. We working with Spirax Sarco specifically. They've utilized the API into their system, and it's able to be one less dashboard for them to work on as well. I hope that answers that. Sorry, I'm just dropping down to the next one in the meantime.
Yeah, no, that's great, Ashley. And yeah, that's a really complex issue that we'd be happy to, Dan, if you want to reach out to us one-on-one, we can sort of delve into it a little bit further because it gets pretty complicated. And then David, you also have the same sort of question about integrating systems. And then we're almost out of time, but I think we can take one more question. Brian has a question. Since the LoRaWAN gateways support the steam trap sensors, can the client use those gateways for other LoRaWAN sensors?
That's actually a great question.
Yeah.
I'm actually not too sure about that. I know that we have done it the other way around, where a site that does have a LoRaWAN infrastructure already set up with gateways through their facility, we're able to have our sensors report into their gateways, and the information be stored on their server, and then they release that information to us so that obviously we can put it through the detection system and with our data analytics team. I've never heard of it of the other way where, sensors connect directly to the gateway. The one thing that I have seen with this is it just becomes a little bit more difficult if a site has a LoRaWAN infrastructure and has their own gateways, because now you're looking at a site that has 10 sensors in this building, but the gateway is too far away, and it becomes a signal issue. When we're installing at a site, we obviously look at the site map. When we go on site as well, we spec out how many gateways we feel we need to the site and make sure that by the time we leave, every sensor is within range and to a gateway and connected. A site that has its own LoRaWAN gateway system and infrastructure, it becomes difficult because then it becomes on the customer to add another gateway potentially, and most of the time they are really expensive outdoor gateways for them to add to their system.
But again, Brian, feel free to reach out to us one-on-one, and we can, get into some of the details around the particular infrastructure that you have and how we might be able to manage that. And so looks like we're out of time for today, but I did want to take a moment to thank all of you for attending. And of course, thanks Ashley for some great information. We'll be sending out a survey after this webinar, so please take a moment to fill it out. We would appreciate it. And if you have any questions or wish to book some time with one of our account managers or technical people, please feel free to reach out to us anytime at info@pulseindustrial.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.